Hey guys, Pinmaster here. All right, I want to talk about an old quote. I don't know whose it is. Could be Bruce Lee's. Sound like Bruce Lee's. It's better to practice 10 techniques 10,000 times than it is to practice 10,000 techniques 10 times. I couldn't agree more, and I could think of um, so many different examples. But I was talking to a buddy online, and we go back and forth with martial arts, and so he was asking if I taught a John Smith low single leg. I guess that's a wrestling technique, that is used called a John Smith. It's named after a guy named John Smith, I guess, and it's a low single. It's one of the singles where you're on the ground, and it's a wrestling match. And he asked me how often I train that on my students, and I not only said I never do that. That's not the takedowns that we work on. But then I started thinking, should we be working on that kind of stuff? And then I started going in the rabbit hole, thinking about it and going through all different scenarios. I'm thinking, well, if we're gonna do kind of obscure techniques that are very seldom used, but they got a guy's name on them, should we also teach jump spinning hook kicks? Because we probably use those in a real fight situation about as often as we'd use a John Smith low single, you know? So do we teach every technique? Pretty soon we're going to be up around 10,000 techniques. Should we just teach them 10 times each? Or should we stick with 10 techniques and teach them 10,000 times? Obviously, we're not only going to teach 10 techniques, but the point is keep your arsenal smaller and refine it and make it better than you will if you have a bigger arsenal but don't know how to use it as well. You can't aim as well, so to speak. All right, so started thinking that way. First of all, you gotta realize time is of the essence. Time is our biggest enemy here, because as martial arts instructors, we can work on all those things because that's what we do. We're at the gym. That's 40 hours a week, doing gym stuff, and at least 7-8 hours a week we're actually training martial arts. But the average martial arts student practices 2 hours a week. 2 hours a week. That's what they practice, 2 hours a week. And some of that is drilling, some of that is warming up, some of it's cooling down, etc. So if you start adding, whatever you add, you have to take out something else. Like if I started doing kata, right, I would have to take out some of my groundwork, or maybe some of my wrestling, or maybe some of my striking. Maybe if I put in more kind of obscure techniques that I don't think the chance of happening in a street situation, so I don't really have to teach it that much. But if I did anyway, I would put that in because it sounds like I'm doing more because there's more techniques. I'd have to take out something. Maybe I'd have to take out conditioning time. Conditioning time is very important, much more important than any single technique, especially a technique that would hardly ever be used in a street situation, such as a jump spinning hook kick or a John Smith low double or single, whatever. So that's another thing you have to take. You got to take into consideration, and realize the more stuff you put in, the more volume you get. Right? The less expertise you get. So if you put in kata, so you got katas now, that means you're going to have to spend less time doing your real martial arts techniques. That means you won't be as proficient at them. You won't be as skilled at them. Anything you put in here in your curriculum, anything, it's what you're going to get out. So if you put a lot of kata in, or a lot of obscure techniques like spinning techniques, or maybe even fun techniques that you think captivate your students, you're gonna the the real techniques you need, the basics, you're not going to be as good at. I mean, you can't argue with that point. That's simple physics. So the more you take in, the less you're going to have at the really important ones. So what do you do? Do you want just basic, boring techniques all the time? How many techniques should you have? That's a tough one for you guys, and you got to figure that out if you're a martial arts school owner. You got to put your curriculum together. I do videos, and I'll do more if you want, of how I plan my curriculum. I think I have the best curriculum in the world, but then again, probably so does everybody else. One thing you should think of when you're teaching it, whether it's a kata or some kind of low single or a spinning hook kick or something. First, think of, do you think we'll need this in a street situation? And the answer to both of those things is, yeah, you might, but very, very seldom. Then you think, what is the percentage? Right? If you're going to do a double leg or a takedown, a double leg would be the most common and probably the most practical to use in a street situation. No dipping your knee to the ground, it's like a tackle, just like a football tackle with a little more head control. Or for strikes, it could be a left hook or it could be a hard knee. Those are the basics. The basics. Those are the ones that you're going to see the most. These techniques, which might seem boring, if you watch a UFC match, that's what you're going to see the most of. You might see a jump spinning back kick here and there, but the average, you're going to see a roundhouse kick, either to the leg or to the head or to the body. You're going to see a roundhouse. For every jump spinning hook kick, you'll probably see 1,000 roundhouse kicks. For every, I'm trying to think about a crazy hand technique. For every jumping or spinning hammer blow, you're probably going to see 10,000 jabs, just the basic jab, right? And for every jumping armbar or jumping triangle, right? You're probably going to see 10,000 rear chokes. So while these kind of niche techniques, they're kind of flamboyant techniques, you see, the average is not going to be that. And what you're really going to need mainly in the street is not going to be that. Now, if you have 20 hours a week to train, you own a martial arts school, or that's all you do is your hobby and you don't spend much time at home, but whatever, then you might have some time to do those things. But for your average martial arts student, stick to the basics. Stick to the basics. What you think the percentages are very high if they get jumped in the street, which techniques they're going to need and use, and what they should be proficient at. Okay? All right. That's all I want to tell you guys. I'll do other videos on this, and there'll be, if you have any question about it, let me know. If you're opening a school or you have a school and you want to work on curriculum, let me know. I think we have a really good one. But that's my take on teaching, flamboyant techniques or crazy techniques or, just exciting but not very practical techniques. All right. Thanks for coming, guys. Any questions, comments, comment below. If you have any questions you want personal, send me an instant message or a DM or a IM or a email or whatever. You know what I mean. All right. Thanks, guys.